What's going on, investors? Had the day off today and I was like, what's better to do on my day off than make a video for you guys here? So today I'm going to be discussing an under the radar growth stock that has continued to make me rich and recently just had an amazing earnings report. So we'll go over that as well as do a little Q&A from the questions that were asked to celebrate the portfolio reaching 40K just a few weeks ago here. And already now we can see the portfolio is now over that $43,000 mark and inching toward $44,000 as we have another green day in the markets. So we can already see here that Tesla has reached now $2,000 in share price. I only bought one share right when they announced their stock split, and I'm already up $600, which is pretty amazing in such a short amount of time. Also today, I did do some buying. I bought about another $250 more of equity into Amazon, which is having a little bit of a red day today, but that's fine. Got it on Amazon. Still only own about a quarter worth of shares just because the share price is so high, but I've been slowly buying in, and we'll just continue to dollar cost average through fractional shares. Also bought a little bit of store capital here back at $25 after such a tough time dealing with the C19 situation. They actually collected close to the high 80s in their rent for July, so that's why I decided to buy a little bit more about them. So for those of you guys that don't know, Store manages real estate and ownership of single tenant operational real estate properties. So decided to just buy a few more shares of them and then just continue to collect my dividends over time. As you can see, the last dividend I received from them was $7 in July. So now next time I get that in October, it will hopefully be higher, especially if they continue to collect rent. But today's video is going to be focusing on the great growth stock like Applied Materials. Not really a growth stock, but more of an established dividend paying potential for higher earnings in the future company here in Applied Materials, also known as AMAT in some circles. So this is a company that's been around since 1967, and they're headquartered in Silicon Valley, California. While they may be in the semiconductor industry, they are more of a company that supplies equipment, software, chips for electronics, the flat panel displays for electronics, and without them, companies like Apple or Samsung, they wouldn't be able to produce their products. So that's where they're more influential in what they actually do. And the whole semiconductor industry just in general is pretty cyclical, but recently during the C19 situation, they haven't been hit very hard really at all. Demand is actually just going through the roof, and we'll talk about that a little bit here more shortly. For Applied Materials to be able to produce these materials, they have to have a long-term strategy on the development of new materials engineering, and a lot of research and development needs to be able to be put in to be able to deliver these new products for their customers. So there's a lot of working really closely to ensure that their design systems and processes are on track to meet technical and production requirements, right? There's not much room for error when you're dealing with very small electronics here. So what you produce has to really be top of the line, first-class materials here. So Applied Materials has state-of-the-art foundries to be able to produce the molds customers need for their products. AMAT is also a global company with operations in many continents and many countries all over the world. In 2019, Samsung, Taiwan Semiconductor, and Intel made up over a third of all their sales total. Those are some great companies to be doing your business with. All of those are very secure companies, and I'm not too worried that those companies would go bankrupt and lose a huge portion of AMAT's revenues. And if we think about just how small these materials, we're talking smaller than the size of a hair strand, and how much electronics we use, and how much more demand there's going to be in the future. AMAT has top tier equipment and technology in their product portfolio. That's what makes this all possible. Applied Materials also has over 13,000 different patents. That gives them the exclusive right to be able to design and produce things the way that they do it, which is top-notch quality. Right now, I'm just thinking about how many of us are working from home. All those devices, they all have chips in them, and we use electronics at home for entertainment such as iPads, and all of us have cellular devices in our pockets, and all those display screens, that has to be made somewhere. So a lot of times we put a lot of focus into who's actually making the iPhone or the Samsung tablet, but really who's actually giving you the materials in order to be able to produce that in the first place, who's putting that together. There's millions of kids doing school online this year. People are doing shopping almost exclusively online now. All this requires cloud data centers and communications infrastructure. Think about all the market opportunity there is for AMAT, and it's only going to get larger the further we go into the future. And this is a company that specializes in an industry where demand is going to be going up regardless of the market condition. And I'm going to be giving my hard-earned dollars to this company. You can already see I'm up almost $200 here. I've held this company for about 2 years now, but I've only recently been adding more and more shares of it. As you can see, now have 21 shares. Now let's look at their spectacular earnings report, where they announced a 28% increase in revenues thanks to their higher demand in their foundries and logic segment. There was double-digit and year-over-year increase in all of their segments. And the company, it really hasn't been hit that hard by the C-19, as they are operating at pre-C-19 levels in research and development and manufacturing. Applied Materials is also trying to support more video projects such as AR, VR, and live distance learning, which we know will be in high demand this fall as kids go back to school. Expect big things from them as artificial intelligence continues to expand, as well as autonomous driving, 5G, the Internet of Things. All this will continue to expand in this coming decade, and there's going to be so much demand for Applied Materials to be able to produce the materials needed for all that to be happening. So when we look at their revenues yearly, they're going in an upwards direction, and they were actually just slightly down last year, but they have a fantastic balance sheet with $5 billion in cash and short-term investments. This is a company that has beat the S&P 500 over the past decade, and they've also been responsibly doing a lot of share buybacks. We all know companies like Boeing that have been irresponsibly doing that. And they also pay out a dividend while we wait on these big gains. So that's even just the cherry on top, is getting paid small dividends from them. This is a company that just raises their dividend by a penny just the last 2 years. So right now their payout ratio is only 20% of their earnings, which for a company like this, I'm totally fine with. I'd have AMAT go and reinvest that money into making sure their foundries and all their capital expenditures are right where they need to be in order for them to continue to produce great products for their customers. And this has also been a company that's consistently paid out dividends every year since 2005. They've been able to survive recessions. And even though that dividend is very small, I'm not buying this company strictly for the dividend. All right, now for the part you definitely didn't come for, and that is the Q&A. So I'm going to say goodbye to a lot of people that are dropping off now, but if you guys wanted to hear the Q&A, here's your chance into seeing what my awesome life is all about. So the first question comes from Gary, or Jerry with a G, asking how I picture life in retirement. So I was actually just having this conversation with someone who I was teaching stock market basics to. I think when most people think of retirement, it's often like them at a beach somewhere and they're sipping beer. But for me, I feel like it's more me having the opportunity to do stuff that I would not have otherwise pursued because of the financial sacrifice. So there's a reason why I work my 9-to-5 job, right? Even though it's not my absolute passion. I know that I need to have this high earning salary right now to pay for my later life expenses. But at the same time, this really does prevent me from being able to pursue other passions. Maybe I wanted to work as an employee at Chipotle. Like, what if serving people undercooked carne asada, what if that's what brings me joy in life? But in all seriousness, what if I wanted to be that restaurant owner, right? This is a risk that I wouldn't take right now just because I'm comfortable with what I do. And I know there's a potential risk and financial burden that's preventing me from taking that chance and pursuing that passion that I normally would have taken had money not been an issue. So being active is what I imagine retirement to be like. It's focusing on investments and other business opportunities that I wouldn't normally take. Maybe another real estate deal, maybe another venture into angel investing, who knows? But right now, that's tough for me to do because I want to establish more of a base. I also think I would totally be down to just YOLOing it and doing random cross-country road trips because you now have unlimited vacation, and that would be pretty awesome. But as long as you're keeping your mind sharp, that's really what I imagine retirement to be like. All right, next one comes from Andre Laya, who asks if I will do a face reveal at 50K. Andre, you're really funny. I don't know about 50K, maybe 500K. Really, I just like to be anonymous because I feel like I share a lot of personal financial information on here. And I personally think it's weird if other people who you see frequently in real life and they know exactly how much money you make and have invested. Personally, I just think that's a little bit too much sharing of information. And I respect people that do their faces and their real identities on here on YouTube, and that's totally cool with them and if it works for them. But for me personally, I don't think that's something I would want out there. Plus, just showing you my Robinhood portfolio, that prevents me from ever having to show my face, and I don't ever need to get ready outside for videos. Like, I can record videos hungover, I can record videos naked, under the influence. You guys might never be able to know. Next one is not really a question, but I just wanted to share something funny somebody put in the comments in one of my videos, and it was basically just saying that I was clickbaiting with my title and thumbnails. So a video titled "My Monthly Paying Dividend Stocks on Robinhood," where I go over what monthly dividend paying stocks I own, is somehow clickbait. So y'all know me, guys. I guess I'm always just clickbaiting. All right, next real question comes from Dave from Hidden Freedom Investing, as well as Ryan of Ryan Gift. They ask when I plan to retire and with how much. And I like how they asked how much, as if I somehow had some sort of control on making that money just reproduce and multiply. I mean, I wish I had that opportunity to just tell my money to grow to like $20 million, and then I'd be good to retire. But right now, I think I'm aiming for an age of about 40, which would give me about a decade and a half. And this is under the assumption that I never get married or have kids, just like my idol, Dave. And I think that's more than enough time to get $1 million stock portfolio, which would give me, with a 4% yield, would be $40,000 a year, which I think is more than enough for me, somebody who's a minimalist. I've thought about doing geo arbitrage, which is basically living somewhere that's cheaper. That's potentially something I would be interested in down the road. But like I mentioned earlier, my retirement from a 9-to-5 doesn't mean I won't be looking at other business opportunities or investments. Who knows, maybe I'll be doing YouTube full time like a JJ Buckner. So right now I'm just aiming for $1 million. But in all reality, I do think I will far exceed that goal by the time I'm 40, if I'm just being honest and looking at my projections and how much I save, and if I can keep that up. And hopefully by the time I'm 40, knock on wood or knock on money. And that's just really how things have been going for me. It's been a fun little adventure here on the stock market. But obviously, I know the stock market doesn't always go up as fast as it's been doing recently here in 2020. But that's really just it for me here, guys. If you guys ever have any more questions, please be sure to let me know in the comments, and I will try to answer them. Could be about anything related to investing or life. And hope you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, because it really does mean a lot to me and helps me continue this channel.